What's the easiest way to get all the building part blueprints? What's the fastest way? What parts have build location restrictions, and what parts will you never receive? And how you might be able to get them anyway. Good Guys Free here, and I'm here to help. I want to tell you how to get some parts, but not what to do, which is tricky. Let's see if we can do that. The very first thing you're going to get is just a portable refiner, and you will need it to refine stuff pretty quickly. We're not talking about stuff you can craft in your inventory, only about building. One of the next steps as you follow the quests given by the game is a storyline and quest called Awakenings. As part of this, you will eventually receive a blueprint for the first base computer and be asked to build a base. This first base computer is special. We'll get back to it. At this point, you will be asked to interact with the base computer and receive your first few base parts, specifically timber floor, walls and door and roof, and a few more things. Before we go on with how and where to get more building parts, let's talk a bit about where to build. Well, eventually you'll get yourself a freighter, and you can build a base on the freighter, so that will become an option later in the game, and we'll get back to this towards the end of this video. The other option, clearly, is on a planet. But what kind of planet? That depends on what you want to accomplish, of course. Paradise planets cannot have uranium hotspots, for example. So the type of planet, and more specifically the planet's biome, determines what you will be able to find, but this is beyond the scope of this video. I'll link in the description about how to find specific resources. So once you have created your very first base, which is usually quite tiny and not so impressive, you will ask yourself, where should I build a base? To answer this question, there are so many options it's really hard to decide. However, for the first time ever base, just place it somewhere near your ship, but a little bit away. But what not to do? Well, you'll notice when you place a part, the terrain deforms around it. That's great, but after a while, the terrain can regenerate and it's really annoying. There's a limit to the number of such terrain deformations per base. After that limit is reached, new parts will simply clip into the terrain instead of deforming the terrain. Similarly, don't bother flattening out terrain for your base, as it will regenerate. So what to do? Build on stilts. But let's get back to how we get more parts to build with. As you progress with the game's quests, one of the first things you will do is interact with the base computer, and, without giving away anything, you will get the blueprints for a construction research unit like this one. This unit allows you to research building parts, which costs you salvaged data. To get those salvaged data, all you need is to use the scan mode and find buried technology modules. Broken machinery pieces are strewn across the landscape, and they almost always have one module nearby. Another place is all those shelter places, because they always have a piece of broken machinery near them. To find those, just use your scanner and look for this symbol. I like to mark the closest one and just go. On harsh weather planets, I love using the Minotaur exosuit, but that's for later. The same parts can be researched at the Construction Research Station on the Space Anomaly, and of course, using salvaged data. Now you can use these options, go out and collect salvage data, then go and get all the blueprints you will ever need, right? Well, there's a cheaper way, albeit slower. After you receive the blueprints for a construction research unit from the base computer, and you continue the storylines some more, you will eventually have a new mission in the log called Base Computer Archives. Now, if you didn't know this already, this game acts according to what mission you select as active. Some direction and navigation markers appear by this, as well as messages. Anyway, every 90 minutes, the base computer will give you another blueprint. These include most of the basic base parts from wood, concrete, and steel. And yes, if you select the right mission in the log, you can access the base computer at any of your bases. Not so special after all. Let's talk a bit more about where to build a base. The one thing that most people do is find a place they like and just worry about powering the base later. If you have installed an analysis visor already, you can look for an electromagnetic hotspot. This allows you to power your base hassle-free. Of course, in creative mode, you can choose auto power for your base and be done with it. Otherwise, you can research solar collectors and batteries and build enough of them to make the base run. Some people like to place the solar collectors in a specially dug hole in the ground and cover them. Now, if you want to know how many solar collectors and how many batteries you are going to need, I recommend the Assistant to NoMansSky app. It includes a solar battery calculator by Devil and Pixie, and it's an awesome tool for NMS players all around. I'll have links in the description for you. If you want to know how to find power hotspots and other hotspots, I'll have another link in the description to a great video by Beeblebum on hotspots. So what are the other places you can build on a planet? The short list is terrain, underwater, in caves or high up in the air, the so-called suborbital base, and of course on your freighter, which I will get back to later in the video. Personally, I don't like underwater bases so much, and because the game is not very good with paving according to existing terrain, I dislike caves too, but that's just my opinion. The suborbital bases are a very different technique, and I'll link another video in the description for anyone interested in learning how to do this. As you progress with the storylines, you will end up hiring a base overseer, and you will construct a construction terminal at your base. This is the start of a storyline that will give you many more building parts and other blueprints, including storage containers, galactic trade terminal, and terminals for other NPCs that will work at your base. These NPCs will give you other building parts and blueprints, and the list is quite long, but if you play these storylines to their ends, you will have 5 NPCs at your base and lots of building parts. Many people just want to build already and simply harvest salvaged data and go and research all the parts they need. This is usually a faster way, but it does require you to grind some salvaged data. Now, before we look at parts you will never receive in the game, we still owe a debt to 3 more ways to get parts to use when building your base and freighter parts. Freighter parts come from this upgrade terminal and require that you get salvaged frigate modules. Other parts can be learned when you scavenge loot from derelict freighters. This can also yield salvaged frigate modules. One of my most popular videos is on the topic of derelict freighters, and the link is in the description. I'll also link some other videos about getting salvaged frigate modules. The other ways you get parts to build are from the Quicksilver synthesis agent at the Anomaly, and they are expedition rewards, Twitch campaigns, and getting them with Quicksilver, which you can obtain mainly from running missions and weekend missions at the Nexus. Now, you may already have caught a glimpse of expedition rewards that I cannot claim because they are rewards for expeditions I did not participate in. There is one more category of parts that the game will never give you, but before we see them, I'd like to mention a couple of more helpful tips. The prefab parts are really useful when you don't want to bother too much. When you attach power to such a building, everything else inside is automatically powered without need for wiring. Some people like using them, some don't. Many times you see situations where it's hard to snap a part to its place because near the target location or behind it in the line of sight there are many snap points. This is when the build camera is very useful. It's also really useful to let you build while staying inside a safe location during storms, etc. The last category of unobtainable parts are legacy parts. These are parts that existed in the game in the past and were deprecated for various reasons. If someone has an older save from the days they were in use, they will be able to use these parts. Hello Games claims that using them today, while possible, has significant drawbacks since the game engine isn't optimizing for them, whatever that means. Other than that, your only option is using a save editor, which applies only to PC for now. And if you decided to do that, then you can add yourself all the expedition rewards too while you're at it. That's it. If you like my video, please consider hitting the like button and subscribing.